As Grounded 2 just released, we already got a massive update that includes a developer blog post, an early access roadmap, and even a dev podcast, which will go over some key features that are in early access currently, as well as some of the current limitations, major seasonal updates, and even dev insight. I'll break down each and every single one of those and what they actually do mean. We got a ton to talk about. What's up, World Utopia here, back in with another video. Today we're checking out all things Grounded 2. So yes, first up here, we got the early access roadmap as well as the developer podcast. I'm going to go over the podcast first, as that will actually help us break down the roadmap and all the significance there. So over on the Xbox page, Grounded 2 did have an official Xbox podcast for it, where they actually do go over some significant details and even future mentions. So first up here, they just kind of outline what exactly is in early access. I'll go over this section very quickly as it is decently relevant. So I have a bunch of features listed out here. They mention it's a much larger story day one, with more characters and expanded narrative, far more than Grounded 1's launch. I do believe they mean 1.0 launch, as when I first played Grounded 1, it was basically a tech demo. Really only had a few hours of gameplay there with just a spider as a boss. Next up here, they mentioned we have the Omni tool. This one has been a little bit controversial. I've actually played a few games and a few people have said they kind of don't really like the new all-in-one tool, but it does free up some inventory slots, so I understand it. Next up here is the Buggy Companions. Now I've actually made myself a mount. It is fairly easy early on that you can make this mount. A few hours of gameplay, maybe even less, that you can get your first mount, especially if you are speedrunning. They do mention there is 4 rideable buggies right now, a Red Ant, an Orb Weaver, and a few others. Those all do have unique abilities, where a Red Ant can actually whistle and recruit workers. So yeah, if you're riding one of the Red Ants, like the larger ones, you can actually recruit the smaller Red Ants and they will help you attack. I've also seen where if you do get off your mount while you're fighting an enemy, your mount will actually help you. At least the Red Ant. Probably happens with the Orb Weaver as well, although I haven't gotten to that stage yet, as I have been playing it on and off. But pretty cool there, just a little tip in case you didn't know. They also do mention there is archetype progression here with a fighter, rogue, and even ranger. Those are available to you basically immediately. You can make those fairly easy. Although mage is actually still in this, but that one doesn't unlock until tier 2, which is a few hours in. Probably a little bit more than a few hours, at least from what I've seen, as it is quite hard to get some of the T2 stuff. They also do mention, in case you were curious, there is co-op scaling. So enemy health and damage actually does scale with party size for a smoother solo and multiplayer balance. I do believe that means that it will scale depending on how people are in the game currently. So even if you start the game with 4 players and then go down to 2, the health should scale back down to 2, and if you do play your world solo, it also should just scale down to solo. Now this next part they actually did talk about over on the live stream, but we also do have a further breakdown of it, which is the roadmap and the major seasonal updates. Now originally they, I believe, planned to do updates every 6 to 8 weeks. However, now those large updates will happen every 4 to 5 months. So for the fall 2025, they are doing a sandbox overhaul. Planned content there is a tarantula mini boss, sandboarding, and even an engineer archetype. Pretty cool. They're definitely interested on the engineer archetype. For winter 2025, they're calling this one, or the code name for it is Shed Shakedown, with a vertical rafter zone, climbing tools, and improved physics. Maybe even potentially they are bringing the zip lines back. For summer 2026, they are going to be bringing out custom rides with paint jobs, buggy armor mods, racetracks, and even leaderboards. Definitely going to be really cool there, but then again, that is not happening until next year. Now, one of the things I want to preface just before we get into the roadmap, right now the game does have some limitations. There is no DLSS or FSR XeSS support, and it isn't supported at launch as of right now. Only TSR for Unreal Engine 5 is included, which is already super rough. They also do mention no mod support, not confirmed for 1.0. Although not as huge as the DLSS stuff. The devs did mention they read every single message and they do take feedback there. There's not going to be any design pivots during early access or major systems that are already mapped. The focus right now is stability and clarity with post-launch fleshed out systems. So as this post does go over here, why is my FPS so bad in Grounded? What I've noticed, it is very odd that a 4070, my 4070 Ti Super, and even a 5090 all have the same frame rate. So I would really hope that they do some optimizations and also deploy DLSS and FSR. With modern titles, upscaling tech is pretty much needed at this point. I use it in every single game now with FrameGen, as I like to pull my 160 to 200 FPS at fully maxed out settings. So when I saw that I was hitting into the low 50 FPS with only utilizing 80% of my graphics card and having low CPU percentage, as someone even mentioned here, with a 5090 at 4K Epic, it's around 45 FPS. And for you console players, this is a $2,000 graphics card. That is just one component of their computer. So the fact that a $2,000 part is only getting 45 FPS, yeah, that definitely is not good. They do say that developers do listen to feedback, so if you guys want FSR and DLSS in this game, I would definitely make a ruckus about it. Obviously, I'm trying to put my voice out there for it. Definitely was disappointed, but yeah, I really hope they do bring that in. Jumping over and moving past my rant there, we do have the roadmap. This is on top of what they mentioned in the dev podcast, and they actually did post this one over on Twitter or X, where they say early access roadmap for Grounded 2. Now this is a large list here with a bunch of different labelings, platform, different information here, or just to give a little bit of an easier breakdown here so you're not visually overwhelmed here, and just to give some more context overall. We have the AXL zone expansion and building quality of life. They mentioned that the arena, the park boss fight, and armor progression there will also be updated, so some combat tweaks and a few other things there. For the building and quality of life section, they are doing a grid system with furniture additions and the hot pouch use on buggies. They also are including some new languages for Japanese and Brazilian Portuguese, so those translations should be there eventually. For the Winter 2025 update, that's a systems overhaul and a buggy tier 2. At least the two highlights there, with platform support coming to Steam Deck then being verified, as well as the ROG Ally and even Steam crossplay with a Microsoft login required. There is some issues right now with the Steam crossplay. That seems like it's going to be fully supported then, although I do hope they fix that issue. I'll go over a little bit of a mention in a minute there. Also, the ROG Ally support more than likely is tied to the Microsoft handheld there. Gameplay systems, playgrounds, and custom scenarios will be incorporated with Sour 2.0, Coziness 2.0, and Pure R 2.0. As I mentioned, some buggy upgrades here where now you can use a Ladybug, the Peep.R integration on buggies, and even an interaction improvement. There's some new creatures like a cricket, an earwig, and even new insect variants. Tier upgrades not hit level 3 for both the equipment and Omni Tool, and Buildings gets a Mushroom Set 2.0 with new furniture and base defenses. That one will be super fun to work with. This roadmap also includes the Summer 2026 update with the Water Biome and Tier 4 gear coming out. New features for Smoothie 2.0, Swimming 2.0, which is overhauled mechanics, and they do mention zip lines in this roadmap. So a bit of a correction there from earlier, what they said in the dev blog or dev podcast. Yeah, we're actually getting zipline. Creatures and buggies, we get the watery buggies and even water creatures. And yeah, the tier upgrade also applies to the equipment and the Omni Tool as well as water-themed equipment. Since this is the water biome being added, they're also doing watery bases, likely buoyant or aquatic anchored systems, meaning they'll be above the water, but they could be below as well. Now they do mention there are future plans for post-EA and beyond 1.0. These are long-term goals, however, with no specific dates, so there'll be some upgrades to mutations with passive mutations and active mutations hitting 2.0. They're even adding more buggies, more bug types with mutations, customizations, and progression there. Some new things to the PvE, which is creatures, park bosses, and large-scale colossi. Gear and archetypes, new weapons, armors, Omni Tool unlocks, and additional archetypes there. Of course, they're also still going to be expanding to base building with new materials, building types, customizations, and even base moving now. And then eventually they are going to bring more languages like Arabic, Korean, Polish, Russian, Thai, traditional Chinese, and Turkish. So they still don't have those translated just yet, but this will come eventually. Moving on, we did have a developer vlog here, but this one was just going over the basics of the game. I'll include a link to it down below if you want to check it out, but it really is just kind of the baseline stuff. There was also one more last minute mentionable here, which is that they are giving away a 10-foot red ant gaming plushie. You can head to the Twitter and follow and repost this with the Grounded 2 hashtag sweepstakes, and you can get yourself a chance to win this giant plushie. They also did show off one during the developer podcast, but that version wasn't the plushie version, was just there at their showing. Still really cool nonetheless. If you wanted to earn the plushie one though, I will include a link to the tweet down below. Overall, check out cover for today's video. If you enjoyed, a like, subscribe, and until the next one. Deuce.